What's up, War Report family? I am your host, C Dub. Now that Hugh Freeze has got his guy at quarterback at Peyton Thorne, we ask you, how tough is the competition going to be this fall for Auburn football going into the 2023 season? All the fellas are here to weigh in, and we want to hear your thoughts on the latest midweek report. Happy Wednesday to each and every one of you guys. We want to welcome you to the latest Midweek Rapport, courtesy of auburnsports.com. One of the best ways that you can support us is to support our sponsors. So please be sure to head over there and check out their content. And as always, we want to shout out to JG, Tate, and the fam for being long-time supporters of the War Rapport. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us on this lovely Wednesday evening. Do us a favor and share this video on Facebook, Twitter. Smash that like button and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Ike, what you got cooked up for people that they need to become a member to experience? You're muted, by the way. You muted, Ike.
You're muted. I was definitely on mute, just talking away. But y'all know WTF is going on out here in these streets, man. We're out here doing our thing with this film, but you got to be a member to be a part of that. So come on board and become a patron if you want to be able to have that film on replay whenever you want to come back and watch it. If you're a supporter, then you can watch the live stream when I do that. But I will try to have some film for you guys tomorrow. I don't know if I'll be able to live stream because, you know, I got dad duties that I got to take care of, field trip and all that kind of thing. But we'll see what we can do for tomorrow to get you some kind of film because I've been promising it and it's coming. If you are a member and you want to gift a membership, you can do that from the live chat. Just right down there on YouTube, gift somebody a membership. Let somebody know that you love them. And what better way to do that than to gift memberships to the War Report, because it is the best community out here on these interwebs. Giving away stuff as always. A mug today. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments. You got to be present to win. Sponsored by War Eagle Oil. War Eagle Oil is your place for all of your motor oil and motor related products. Head to War Eagle Oil for all of that. And yeah, let's get into this content, man. I ain't gonna do too much talking. Let's get to it.
Before we get started, I do want to shout out Lawrence says getting ready to head back home to the good old US of A, leaving Pakistan today. Prayer does work. I'm happy that you're safe and heading back home. Thank you, sir, for all that you do. Good to hear from you as always. Guys, how are y'all doing, man?
I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Good. Just regular old Wednesday, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get into it, man. News, a little bit of a slower news week, but as always, a lot to talk about. Again, we have been covering the latest regarding Auburn football. And one of the biggest stories have been Peyton Thorne committing to Auburn. After much speculation, Hugh Freeze finally got a QB out of the transfer portal. He actually met with some of the media. They caught him at the Regions Golf Classic, and he was asked about quarterback. He kind of gave some comments about Thorne, but also mentioned that he was excited about Robbie Ashford and Holden Geriner. So I ask you guys, just your opinion, what do you expect in terms of competition? Do you really expect it to be a fierce competition, or we've been asked this, do you expect it to pretty much be an easy competition and Peyton Thorne ends up the starter? Do we see a surprise? What do you guys think? Start with you, B.
I have been of the mindset that whoever came in was going to be in pole position to win the starting job. it has very little to do with what Robbie Ashford or Holden Geriner could be. It has more to do, in my mind, about what they were right now. What they were right now were people who were not accustomed to what Hugh Freeze wants to do as far as the type of offense he runs. He specifically cited RPO and running an RPO as part of the offense. He spoke to what it's been alluded to, maturity, as far as Robbie Ashford is concerned. Some of that was a lack of maturity on the sideline last year that we saw from Robbie. The rest of it is something that it's in pieces here and there, and we hear it being referenced, but not exact. We don't have the whole picture of exactly what Hugh Freeze didn't get see from Robbie Ashford and how it improved. But when he first got here, he wasn't the guy that Hugh Freeze said, that's my starting quarterback. So from before spring started, I was like, oh no, he's going to get somebody else, because he wasn't effusive in his praise of anybody. And maybe he shouldn't have been without having evaluated them. But maturity and off the field was a big part of it. Not ending up on lists was a big part of what he's referencing. He wants a full spectrum, not just, hey, you can play, but you can run the room. You can be the leader. You can be the grown up in the room and on the field. And obviously, I felt like he was going to go look for that. Now you could say, hey, well, both Robbie and Holden improved their stock over the course of the spring. And I would say, sure, I'm glad they did, because obviously Hugh Freeze wasn't going to tolerate not getting with the program. So you did what you had to do. You improved, hopefully, in your passing game if you're Robbie Ashford, and hopefully in your confidence and your command if you're Holden Geriner, because I think those are the two areas where they both needed to be able to improve. But I still thought the whole time, you can say, I'm going to make you better than you were, but that still doesn't mean that you're my guy. It doesn't. So I thought he was going to get somebody who was closer to what he wanted, maturity and on-field skills and experience as well. I think Peyton Thorne has that. It's not that I don't think it's going to be a competition. It's more that if the best way I can think, I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's not going to be a good one, John Brandon, so go easy on me, all right? If you work in a job, let's say you're a manager, and you've got somebody who's been an assistant to you for a long time, so they do everything they can do to help you out. And you're like, I like your drive. I like how much you want to learn this. I'm opening up a position to handle this task, and you've helped with it. Now I could hire you, and you still have a lot to learn coming up into this role. Maybe it's management, maybe it's supervisory. There's more to handle than just the skills that you've been close to. Or I can get somebody who's been doing this, and I know they've done exactly this. I like you, and you got enough to show me that you're going to be good in this company, but that doesn't mean that this job right here is something that you're ready for yet. I think that's kind of what's going on here. We know that Robbie Ashford has the hunger, but is he ready to to be the signal caller here? Is he ready to be the person leading the offense for what Hugh Freeze wants to do on offense? If you're going to tell me that Cadillac's going to be the head coach and the OC is going to be, well, it doesn't really matter who the OC is. I know it was Will Friend last year, but Cadillac's going to say, we're going to run it come hail, snow, or sleet, then I want Robbie Ashford as my quarterback. I don't think that's what we're running. Hugh Freeze wants something specific. I think he got a guy that's closer to his ideal quarterback than either one of the guys in the room. And for that reason, I think if you just project, you do the best that you can do, Holden, you do the best that you can do, Peyton, Robbie, if everybody does exactly what they're good at, and you just play to your potential, and I push you to play a little bit better, following the track that you've been on to this point in your career, Peyton Thorne's going to win that job. That doesn't mean it won't be a competition. That just means that based on your skill set and your experience, I'm going to push you, and you're ahead in the things that I need. So that's why I expect Peyton Thorne to get that job. Just like that.
Ike, you got something you want to say here?
Yeah, so this is interesting. Like, as B. Will was talking, my mind harkens back to Coach Hugh Freeze coming in. And every time he was asked about the quarterback position, you guys tell me, what was his answer before practice started? What was his answer?
I ain't seen him yet.
Yeah.
Not just I haven't seen him. He hasn't what?
Coached
He hasn't coached them a single down yet. He doesn't know. Has he said that about Peyton Thorne? Am I mistaken in remembering whether or not Peyton Thorne has been coached by Coach Hugh Freeze yet?
He has not been.
Has he coached him in a practice?
No.
Has he coached him in a game?
Not legally.
He has not coached Peyton Thorne, but he hasn't said that about Peyton Thorne one single time when asked about the quarterback situation with Peyton Thorne coming in. He hasn't said, I don't know. I haven't coached him yet. I know I've coached these other guys and I feel like we can win games with them, but we brought him in to, to compete. I haven't coached him a single down yet. That, to me, lets me think that, yes, Peyton Thorne is ahead in this. And it gives me an air of he might have been feeding us some BS with this. I haven't coached him a down yet stuff earlier. And that's the first time I think I've been able to say that about Coach Hugh Freeze's messaging, where it becomes inconsistent. Because he's usually very consistent with his messaging of saying, I don't know, I haven't coached them yet. But you didn't coach Peyton Thorne, but you were sold on the fact that he could come in and do some things for your offense. So you could have answered that question differently before. You were just throwing off on an answer that said, I'm not impressed, honestly, because he could tell you about every other transfer quarterback that hit the portal that people were trying to say, hey, what about this guy? What about this guy? He could tell you he wasn't impressed with any of those people. They aren't the one. They aren't the one. But Peyton Thorne, who you haven't coached, you have no problem admitting he could potentially be the one. You didn't even give the potential for the one for Holden or Robbie or TJ, who you hadn't coached. You didn't say, I looked at some tape of these guys and I think that potentially we have a starter amongst those three. But you could evaluate other people's tape and say that. Coach Hugh Freeze.
Can I play God's advocate real quick?
God's advocate. Go for it, sir.
Yeah. My wife
God don't need no advocate.
My wife is a super duper Christian. Was like, I don't like it when you say devil's advocate. God's advocate. She's incorruptible. But could it be that you're eager to say that about someone you actually recruited?
Possible, but he recruited Hank Brown.
Yeah.
True. Okay.
But Hank Brown ain't even in the conversation yet.
He's
though,
he's a.
But my point here is that the difference in the messaging to me is about his excitement for the potential of the player. He warmed up to these other guys once they hit, once he coached them a little bit. He's like, oh, you know what? Listen, he said the same thing about I saw somebody comment earlier and they said
Damari Alston.
Yeah, well, about Damari Alston. This is what I'm going to bring up because somebody commented earlier and they in the live chat and said something about Coach Hugh Freeze wasn't going out looking for a starter at running back. That should show you the difference. It's not true. He brought in Batee, who was the leader in the NCAA in all-purpose yards, because he didn't know what he had in the running back room. So he was like, I think we need a guy that's more because he was used to coaching guys of a specific type. Coach Hugh Freeze has types, is all I'm trying to say. We can get into that. He's got types. He already told you.
But pretty early on in the spring, he said Darqueze Hunter was his best back he ever coached.
He did, but that didn't stop him from bringing in Batee before he had coached him. He hadn't coached Darqueze Hunter. He said he recognized pretty early that was the case, but he went and got his insurance policy before he coached Darqueze Hunter a single down. Yeah. Because from what he thought he wanted, he was like, this is the kind of guy I typically have at running back. We need to go get somebody who fits this mold. He thought the same thing about the wide receiver room. He has a particular type of receiver that he's looking for. It's not about whether or not these guys are good. They don't necessarily fit the mold of what I typically want. And so he wasn't very high on him. Thought the same thing about the linebacker room. The linebackers are a little better than what I thought they were going to be. Thought the same thing about the offensive line. This is the type of offensive lineman that I want to go get. He went immediately and got those types of. Nick Martner was the first wide receiver he brought in. Why? He's tall. He wanted a tall receiver. It wasn't about anything other than a type. He's looking for people that fit a specific type. Walker White, the first recruit that he goes out and gets in since after he comes to Auburn, a type. He's got a type.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. They calling you Blues Clues in the comments.
Hey, listen, man. I just follow where the clues take me, brother.
Mike G, what's your thoughts on this, man? What you?
Well, ditto on everything I said. I mean, there have definitely been some contradictions, and that's I would point back to when he was saying that I don't know that we're going to settle anything until the fall. That bull, coach. That's cap. We know you're doing it. You're just not telling us, right? You're working it out in your head. You're just not telling us. So while he purports to be straightforward, there's a lot of coach speak in misdirection in some of the things that he's saying. And I think, personally, again, the discrepancies with players who he chooses to say, this player is good, and then, I don't know, we got to see, I haven't coached them yet. Again, just sounds like he's leaving himself an out, right, to not commit to anybody, which is fine, right? You could probably just be a little bit more direct. This coach has a problem with messaging. I'm going to say that now. I'm going on record. He has a problem with messaging, both internally and externally. So ultimately, it'll come down to what he can do on the field with these guys. And, we won't be talking about that. If he wins enough games, we won't be talking about this. Right now, it's the offseason, so it's all we have to go on. We haven't seen how his plan is going to come to fruition for these players. Now, in terms of, whether whether Peyton Thorne, truly leads at this
That's
point.
a Freudian slip there, Mike.
No, right. Whether he truly leads at this point, I think it's safe to say, based on the clues that Ike so astutely put together for us, that he does lead, at least subconsciously, for Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
I do believe they're still evaluating to some extent, because there are things that you don't know yet about this offensive line, and you may need the cover that a Robbie Ashford provides you, depending on how they perform. Now, one thing he did say about the previous quarterbacks was that it was harder to look at their tape and evaluate them because the blocking was so bad.
True.
Right. So, he's not getting. So Peyton Thorne has tape where he could be truly evaluated, and he didn't feel like he could have evaluated these guys based on the tape because, the blocking was so bad. So I'll cut him some slack there, at least that, he did say that part out loud. Now, maybe that's the difference between why his tone about Peyton Thorne is different than the other two guys. And I say it's the whole reason, but it could be part of the reason why his tone is different. He could look at tape of Peyton Thorne and say, okay, I can evaluate this, but he can't do the same with Holden and Robbie.
You're right.
Robbie had a hurt shoulder and a terrible line. Holden barely played. So, he'd be silly if he's not cultivating multiple options. I doubt Hugh Freeze is going all in on Peyton Thorne at this point, even if he's the leader in his mind. Because if it doesn't work out, you still need somewhere to turn. And it could not work out for a number of reasons. Top of the list, injury, right? Over half the quarterbacks in the SEC took a seat at some point last year due to injury. So, number one on the list. Number two, he just doesn't play well. 29% when pressured. I got to believe people are going to look at his tape and say, pin your ears back and go after him and make Auburn prove they can pass block for Peyton Thorne. Because when you get him on the run, he's going to definitely make some mistakes. And you're talking about, I think it was like 29% under pressure versus 39% under pressure for Robbie Ashford, which for the record is pretty good. 49% under pressure is pretty good because most quarterbacks fall off 20 percentage points or more when under pressure. So I just think, he adds a dynamic. Robbie adds a dynamic. These guys all have their certain skill sets. Hugh Freeze has got to figure out which one is going to be right for this team this year. And he gave himself multiple options when he went in and he brought in Peyton Thorne. Because what if Robbie's short to intermediate passes don't improve? Because you don't always have control over how and when a guy grows. But all you have is tape of him not being so great at those passes. Now, there are reasons for that. But at the same time, you can't put all your eggs in one basket that he's going to overcome that hump this year. Right. So you had to go out and you had to get Peyton Thorne. Yeah. I would not put it all on Holden's shoulders either because of youth. Even though I believe firmly in his talent, in his upside, in his ceiling. I think Holden has a really high ceiling as far as the passer is concerned, but you got to protect him. And you got to give him targets that can help him out every once in a while. So we'll see how it all comes together. But yeah, this coach has a messaging problem, man. And maybe he'll work through that as he's here at Auburn. But like I said, I thought put the pieces of the puzzle together perfectly.
Yeah, and
you
so
say one thing here and another thing there.
Let me clarify a couple of things that I'm seeing in the chat as well. So first and foremost, I didn't say that there was a problem that Coach Hugh Freeze has a type. All coaches do. Every coach has a specific type that they're going. I was just identifying that he is forecasting for you what his type is. And so if you pay attention to that, then you can see kind of the direction in which he wants things to go. So that's not me saying that there's a problem with that. I'm saying I'm giving evidence that that type is existent in the way that he messages things about that type. So again, that's not me saying that I have an issue with him doing that. Literally all coaches have a particular. Coach Bruce Pearl likes small, quick guards, right? Musselman actually tends to like taller guards that are more versatile that he can play. Like, it depends on what kind of football you want to play, what kind of type of person that you're going to do. Like, every coach has a type. So that's me saying he has a type is not some invalidation of his thought process, first and foremost. Secondly, and this is not necessarily something that someone said to me, but the thought process that Coach Hugh Freeze doesn't have an issue with messaging. I think here's my thought around that. I don't know that I agree that he has an issue with messaging. I actually think that he is almost a little too honest, but tries to like cover up on his honesty by like, it's a veiled truth, right? So like he's really telling you what he thinks. Like you don't know until you go in retrospect and look and see that he says, well, I don't really know about any of these guys. That's actually him saying, I'm not confident in any of them. Right. He's telling you what he thinks without saying it. So that's not that he is being disingenuous or he's not being honest. He is being honest, but he's also not trying to hurt anybody's feelings at the same time. When he goes out there and he says, we're constantly looking for ways to upgrade our room. And he kind of doubled down on that when he's like, hey, if you got a problem, we're going to bring in a new quarterback every year. We're going to bring in new wide receivers. That's going to be a reality. And you have to get used to that. He's always been honest in saying we're going to continually try to upgrade. Every coach does that. There's no issue with him saying that. That's the truth. There's no lack in veracity in anything that he says when he does that sort of thing. However, to the point that, Mike and I have espoused, it's not that you're telling the truth. Maybe it's sometimes how you deliver the message, right? And so the delivery of the message actually matters to some people. Whether so you guys agree with that message or like agreeing with the premise of the message and disagreeing with the delivery of the message can both be concurrent. I don't disagree with the message. Sometimes I disagree with how that message is transmitted and delivered to people. And that's just that's nuance. And you could love it. But I will remind some people who are in love with this messaging that those are the same people who thought that the previous coach was just selling you a bunch of bluster when he was trying to change culture, right? Culture change. They were like, what all that culture change amount to? This is exactly the same thing. It's a change in the way that the culture is being put forth. You just happen to like that messaging better, but it's the same thing. Like, I don't like the duality. Like, people pick and choose where they want to be upset about stuff. And notice, I have not once said I'm upset about anything, about any of this stuff. I said it could be a problem. I ain't upset about it. I'm just acknowledging it exists. Yeah. Acknowledgement of the existence of a thing is not the same as saying that I have a problem with that thing. It's just saying, here are the places where this could be problematic if someone were to take it in this way.
Well, you could mean well, and in the spirit of your message can get lost in the messaging.
100%. That's
what I mean. That's what I mean when I say I think he has a problem with messaging, right? Like, the spirit of your message, the tone, how you say something matters, right? Guys, I'm sitting right here right now. If I go, hey, Mom, when's dinner ready? She'll be like, 8 o'clock. If I go, Mom, the meatloaf, what? You'll see brooms and extension cords and all kinds of stuff flying from outside the camera right into my face. So, again, messaging matters because it elicits a certain emotional response. Now, part of why I say that is, again, in my conversations with players, it feels as if there is a problem with messaging internally about people understanding where they stand.
Right.
And then you make comments in the media that are even more unclear. And they're trying to line those things up.
Right.
Yeah, I'm laughing at that too, Mike.
That was a Step Brothers reference. But the idea here is just he's got a lot of things that he's got to pull together. He's trying to be more of a CEO, in this role. We've heard that before, right? Coaches stepping back and being less hands-on. And my thing is, coach, just do what you do well. If you just do what you do well, Auburn will be okay. And that thing that you have to do well has got to be offense, because that's what Auburn has struggled at. Hire competent assistants that you can trust to run one side of the ball without any meddling from you, the offensive mind, right? And have the offense run the way you want it run, because that's what, as far as I'm concerned, that's what Auburn pays $6 million a year for. Your offensive mind, your offensive genius, your quarterback development, your program development. So we'll see how he does with it. But
I mean, these are one of the things that you get grace for when you win. You can deliver the message perfectly, but again, if you're losing games, no one cares, right? So we just got to get to the fall, get to playing. I want to see what these guys do on the field. Before we transition, guys, we got some folks watching with us. 261. We got to see those likes get up there, though, guys. Please hit the thumbs up. Help us out with the YouTube algorithm. I'm going to grab some of you guys' comments. Mitchell, hey, good, says, love you guys. Just started listening to every show. Welcome, Mitchell. Thanks again for supporting. Daniel Moultrie says, anybody heard anything on any more transfers? We'll just keep it with football for now. Any news, guys? Anything you're hearing?
I don't think anything new. No.
Nothing solid.
I mean,
Yeah.
so Coach Hugh Freeze in that presser availability today did say that he felt like they were in a good place in the offensive line. And he also said, of course, at quarterback. But the other places that there have been rumblings have been with, I think, a linebacker. I don't know if it's interior, exterior linebacker, and then wide receiver. So I do think that we're not done in the transfer portal, but I don't think that they feel bad about where the roster is right now. So they might not be as aggressive going forward.
Yeah, I think the linebacker's from North Texas, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to visit last weekend. I think he is supposed to visit this upcoming weekend. And I know they are in after a linebacker. I think they may be looking for another edge as well, but we'll keep our eyes out for that. Thanks again for commenting, Daniel. AU alum 94 says, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Thorne's going to have to break a leg not to win this, but we'll see. We're definitely going to have to see for sure. James Morris says Julian Phillips has entered the portal. We'll talk about that in the next segment. Philip Coleman says Thompson committed to FAU. He's reunited with Tom Herman. That's pretty much where people speculated he would land, if not at Auburn. Lee Carter says it's Peyton's job to lose, but he's going to have to put whoever he thinks is best on the field.
I don't have a problem with this take. I just think that some people need to understand he can still lose it.
Sure.
Yeah,
he can still lose it.
Sure. AU alum 94, but okay.
Yeah, I addressed this comment already. So
yeah. But keep in mind, Mike, just because you say that doesn't mean you have a rooting interest. You're just saying what's been known to happen in terms of competition, right?
Yeah. Listen, he can still lose it, right? He can still come in and perform poorly in fall camp for all you know. Just because that's what he did on tape there does not mean that's how he's going to perform here.
We hope it is, but
right? Yeah, that's why you recruited him, but it's not a given, right? Again, this is a different conference. These are different players. These are different coaches he's going up against. And his numbers, while they would raise the floor for Auburn, there's no guarantee that he can reproduce those numbers in our conference.
Yeah.
So that it would be wise to cultivate multiple options. And if you're Robbie Ashford and you don't win this job, right, I would not personally make the mistake that TJ Finley openly said he made by not being ready when called upon. He had a shot. He said, my mind wasn't in the right place. I got down after I lost the job. He can't afford to do that. Not if you want to be quarterback here. And your transfer freebie is gone. So he's just got to stay ready. You just have to stay ready. I don't know, man. Like, I just think battling through like the mental adversity that it takes, in the ups and downs when you're trying to win a starting job at a major P5 program, is something that some players need their coach to help guide them through that process, right? To not get down on themselves when they didn't win the job and convince them to stick around and that there will be a role for them, and that they just have to be ready when it's their turn. We've seen a lot of guys take jobs from other dudes due to injury and just never give it back. Yeah. Right. Once I got my shot, hey, listen, it sucks for you, but they gave me a chance to show out and I did. So, go get me some Gatorade, partner. That's it. You just got to stay ready.
Erica Ratney says if Robbie doesn't start, he will still be involved in game schemes. His talent is too great to be denied with a total freeze out. I see what you did there, Erica.
I don't know that I agree with this.
I'm not entirely sure. It made sense with Harsin because the line was bad enough to where you absolutely needed a change of pace, and Finley wasn't good enough, and in his starting role to really, I think there was very little gap between Robbie and TJ Finley. As a matter of fact, I would venture to say if Robbie and TJ Finley had come in, or both had been here for a year, or both had just come in, that Robbie could have won that job. I think the head start that TJ had by being on the team a year longer was what he needed to win that job. And Robbie's explosiveness was like, okay, we can't keep him off the field, even though TJ's not too far ahead. We can't keep him off the field. It seems like here, number one, you bring Peyton Thorne in, who he's a pocket guy. He's a pocket guy, a pocket passer. He is not a running, scrambling threat like that. So you're banking on the offensive line being significantly better. That's number one. So if the offensive line is as good as you think it is with the new additions, or as good as you want it to be, then the run game could pop, and you don't necessarily need a dynamic, talented quarterback like Robbie Ashford to make the offense go. And that's why it makes me wonder, well, if your plan is revamped offensive line, pocket passer, big game wide receivers, and with big completions, you don't need an alternative package in that case, because you can get everything you need from a solid run game, outstanding backs, a guy who's more accurate, intermediate, and has a good deep ball. That's it. You got the total package if it all works out like that. And it seems like that's what he's banking for. So I don't
know anything from Coach Hugh Freeze's history that suggests that he's going to bring in a quarterback for a particular package. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just think that that's more wishful thinking from people wanting to see Robbie in the game if he doesn't win the starting job. And just like Mike is preparing the people who are all on board with Thorne, if he doesn't win the job, that he could potentially lose it to. I'm gonna prepare all the Robbie's definitely gonna get some snaps people to be okay when Robbie doesn't get snaps in some sub package that they have. I don't think that that's as definitively. We're definitely like, if they put, to B Will's point, the right kind of offense together, they don't need to go get gimmicks, to go get stuff, right? Like maybe like one or two plays the whole season, but you're not going to regularly see Robbie trotting out there in the goal line situation. Most people who feel like Mike's quarterback is my quarterback want him in there making the decisions every single play of the game until it's a blowout.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not going to see another quarterback absent of injury come into the game. They're just not going to do, not typically. So I welcome that being an incorrect take, because I do think Robbie is super talented. I just don't see that being a high probability.
Has Freeze given any verbal indication that he's willing to do that?
No, I don't know the question.
I don't know if he's going to ask
specifically.
Yeah, I don't think
now that there is another quarterback in there, maybe it's an opportunity to ask that question. But yeah,
I don't recall from any press conferences him saying anything that indicated that he would be a 2 quarterback kind of guy.
And to your point, Ike, I don't think I haven't watched enough of him, but I don't think he's done anything like that at Ole Miss when he was in the SEC.
He did not do that at Ole Miss. The tape I saw of him at Liberty, he didn't do that. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing that indicates that to me. Philip Montgomery, haven't seen anything on his tape at Tulsa that indicates that. When you go back to his days of calling plays before Tulsa, I don't see that being a thing from their history that you can call upon. That was a part of what Coach Brian Harsin did before. So when you saw him do it, it wasn't as like, oh, he's never done this before. This is he just had to get this guy out there on the field. It's a part of who he's been before that. So I don't know. Again, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying there's nothing that shows it to me that is a probability, a high probability. So
Gotcha. Douglas, appreciate the super sticker. He comes back and says, would love to meet y'all guys. Probably,
listen, man, we're gonna try to see if we can do some meet and greet or we did a tailgate one season. We're gonna try to see if we can do it again this season, man. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll definitely see. Corey Weber says, has a problem with messaging. It's not his job to tell us the honest truth. His job is to win games.
Yeah.
This is the messaging issue has nothing to do with fans.
Fans, yeah.
Right. So like,
right.
And I would say it's not about whether it's his job to have an issue with messaging. He says himself, hey, I'm just a tell it like it is guy. So if I'm to take you at your word, you're a tell it like it is guy, then when I hear you say something that I can construe in a way that would not necessarily be the best way, I would say, maybe that's not the way to tell that. Maybe that's not the way to tell that story.
Right.
So again, it's not his job, and I don't think we're claiming it is his job.
I don't even.
But your players hear everything you say.
Yeah.
Right. So it matters what you say.
And I agree. I agree with you, Corey, because I think so. We've seen coaches fumble over questions, and then depending on who it is, like I'm not
if you're Nate Oates, you just don't ever know what to say,
or just lie.
Yeah, right.
But if you're number one in the country,
messaging certainly mattered there, right?
Like, in that issue, yeah. But like, of course, it's hindsight now. But Nick Saban won a championship with Jalen Hurts as the starting quarterback for every game, but he got benched the last half. Tua won the game, and then comes back the next season, and then he's getting snippy with reporters. Now, I don't think anybody else in the FBS could have got away with talking to a reporter like that without. I mean, he came back and apologized later, but you just won a championship. You're unimpeachable there at Alabama. You can do stuff like that. You can say, why are we talking about this? Why are you asking me about this? The messaging is terrible. What messaging is there from Nick Saban? Who cares about messaging with Nick Saban? His messaging is when he comes out and then he wins 11 games, or he wins the conference, or he's in the playoff every year. That's messaging. And Hugh Freeze has no message other than speculation, off-season moves, recruiting. That's the entirety of his job performance so far. So that's why it's what we have to talk about. I think it weighs very heavily right now. And even with the players who hear it and don't like it, that's why he's trying to replace all of them. It's like, listen, you might not like it. You won't have to be here too long if you really, really don't like it. That's what all coaches are trying to do. And he made that clear in that interview too. Hey, we're trying to get more every year. And players get salty about not getting playing time. They got options. They jump in the portal or they wait it out. I still don't think it's fair, but I also understand why right now, as a college football coach, you have to recruit and re-recruit and triple recruit. And talent is really a deficit you can't survive with here in the SEC. So you got to say what you can to these guys, keep them on board, and then go get more dudes. So in case anybody doesn't work out, you got somebody else to plug in.
Jake R says Freeze will play the QB that makes the right reads and makes less mistakes. He always been that way. Robbie could be Bo Jackson. Hugh is still going to play the guy that runs his offense correctly.
No disagreement there.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you believe in your system, that's what you should do.
Yeah, for sure. All right. By the way, did y'all hear about Bo Jackson?
About the hiccups thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Someone put something on it. That's terrible. I had hiccups after a steroid shot, and that was the worst feeling ever.
Catch me up.
Huh?
Yeah,
hiccups?
Bo Jackson apparently
he has chronic hiccups.
Yeah,
and
like
I guess
over a year. So like it's been a long time. He just always had hiccups, just constantly having hiccup issues. I was just like,
yeah.
That
I had a hiccup
terrible.
for like
a year.
I had it for 4 hours, and
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah.
I was like, just shoot me. So for a year, prayers to him.
I think he can afford a good doctor.
Yeah, I mean that's what he is. He's getting something done to get it over with. So,
anyways, guys, you are watching the Midweek Rapport, courtesy of AuburnSports.com. Share this video, smash that like button, and subscribe for those of you who just found us and are new to the channel. Let's pause to acknowledge our show sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to auburnsports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial future, let Athletic Architects help you to build your financial house. Head over to buildthehouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. War Eagle Oil is your #1 place for all of your motor oil and related products. For more information, visit wareagleoil.com.
Thank you to the sponsors of the War Report. We appreciate you so much. Thank you to those of you who are out there becoming members. I've seen you out there in the chat. Douglas, thank you for gifting the memberships. We appreciate everybody who wants to be a part of the family and wants to get other people in here and engaged in this content. We got content coming for you. If you like film, then you want to join the War Report. Even if you don't think you like film, here's the thing. You might not know that you like looking at film and learning things about the sport that you love, but just try it. Try it for 1 month. Come and watch some film with your boy. If I don't drop any film, there's a lot of old film that you can film review. You go watch. Just come watch for a little bit. You'd be like, oh, it's kind of interesting, maybe. Or you'd be like, this is terrible. I don't know why I spent $5, $6 on this. Either way, $6. Maybe it's not a big deal for you. Try it out, see if you like it. But come on board and we can talk a little bit about what's going on with both football and basketball. Got film for both of those ready to go. Gifting memberships is a thing that you can do. If you are a member, you can have the first month of the War Report on you for someone else out there in our War Report family here on YouTube. We appreciate those of you who continue to do this and help us continue to grow our family out here in these internet streets. Giving away stuff. Hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat. Got to be present to win. We'll be doing that drawing in about 20 minutes. Hashtag get your weight up to be able to get a War Report mug for the free ski to one lucky person out here in the live comments section. Make sure you hashtag get your weight up. This is presented by War Eagle Oil. WarEagleOil.com, your place for motor oil and motor related products. Head over there and make sure you support the people that support the War Report. A lot of audio-only content out there. The Auburn Express is where you need to listen to that if you are a podcast person. Powered by the War Report. Mike Mack and Memes dropped today. A really good conversation over there in regards to the situation with the basketball team. We'll talk a little bit more about that here. But the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, is where you need to go to get your podcast stuff. And you can hear stuff like Mac and Memes, Amen Corner, and a plethora of other things that we do as rebroadcast. But those are audio-only things there. Yeah.
Joe Kyle, appreciate you hanging out with us. He asks, if Coach Hugh Freeze has a messaging problem, what does Coach Prime have?
Oh,
He has a messaging problem as well.
yeah, it is a
He
huge
doesn't
one.
coach here, so I don't really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I will apologize. He has a huge messaging problem, and I mean, listen. To his credit, he very unapologetically doesn't care how you take it.
Clearly,
but I'll tell you, just because he's Prime, he better win.
Yeah,
he still better win. So we'll see how long they put up with that if they turn in a 3-9 season.
Yeah.
Hope it works because you're putting yourself way out there with that. I'm telling you, you can really bring some undue pressure on yourself with the things that you say.
That's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, I'm telling you, man.
So,
like, man, listen. Kudos to him if he goes out and he goes like 9-3 in year one. Great. But I feel like you put a lot of pressure on yourself to do that or produce that kind of season, and we'll see. I mean, he's in the right conference for it, I guess.
I'm about to say, how bad is the Pac-12 if he pulls out a 9-1
Listen,
season?
they're down bad. My Pac friends don't want to hear it. Y'all don't want to hear it, but you guys are down bad. I mean, you guys, the ACC, the Big 12, this is all trash. Just awful conferences where they don't play good football. Right,
Man, they can't find nobody to take this Pac-12 network.
Right.
Nobody will take this at all.
It was a terrible network to begin with. Let's be clear. I hated the Pac-12 network before. I absolutely don't. I don't blame anybody for being like.
They're trying to deal with A&E.
Oh,
they
man,
on Tubi.
I know. Next on Lifetime, Stanford versus Cal.
Y'all remember the box? That's what they need to be.
There's a box.
Oh man!
You call the number, press 1 to see USC versus. Want to see? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, conference is garbage, man.
Oh god!
They're gonna play some garbage football over there. I can't wait to ridicule them more.
But while we're saying that, Landon King go out there and dominate.
Yeah, right. Utah.
No shade. Hey, at least you went to the people who just won the conference, won their bowl game.
Yeah.
Wait, did they win? Yeah, they win their bowl. I don't remember what.
No,
I don't
they
know if
didn't
they
win
won
their
their
bowl
bowl.
game. They did not win their bowl game, but they did win the.
Was it the Rose Bowl?
It was a Rose Bowl. I think
Against-
they played. Don't remember.
Oh, so.
But
Well,
I
at least,
do-
hey, they doing something. They're doing something. They beat the Heisman winner twice. Go contribute. Go make it happen.
Yeah.
Frankie Colazzo says this gummy is hidden.
All right. That's a small endorsement for the Rogue Shop.
Oh,
we feel
man,
it.
that's
We
funny.
feel it.
Shouts out
Wait a
Rogue
minute.
Shop.
Is that a shot at us? He's like, I don't want to hear this. Let me get
I know, right?
the conversation I wanna hear.
Gummy.
Mitchell Haygood says, "Did the Broken Ugly shirts ever come out?" I still
I don't think I did.
I don't think
Broken
you
Ugly.
did.
I did
Come
Fort
on,
and
Ike.
Kiffin, but I didn't do Broken Ugly.
Maybe you should do that as a special for like the week of Ole Miss game,
Yeah,
because
we'll
that's going to be
figure
a
that out.
pretty spirited competition anyway. Just for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
So
it's
just
true,
a little seed planted there.
Utah, they said, lost to Penn State in the Rose Bowl.
Oh, okay. Hey, can't
Who
wait.
they lost to some. I couldn't remember what Big Ten school they played. So yes, thank you guys. But I think Utah. I think the reason they lost too, their quarterback got injured in that game, if I'm
Yes,
not
he was
mistaken.
injured.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's.
so,
I mean, it changed things a little bit. but-
yeah. So, anyways, good luck to Landon
Which,
King.
to
We wish you
Mike's
well.
point, you got to have more than one quarterback ready to go. You can't just put in, when you say eggs in one basket, that's what you mean. You have to have a backup ready to go just in case
Right.
the guy that you want is not ready. So,
Right.
y'all be taking stuff a little too literal for me sometimes. I don't understand it.
Guys, let's talk basketball.
Okay.
Let's talk basketball. And we trust Bruce. Bruce is the man. Should we, I'm looking at the panic button in terms of recruiting, but should we start panicking? Because we've been looking for a 3 for what feels like an eternity now. Obviously, the Matthews kid committed to Miami. The guy who we felt was number one, or the coaching staff wanted, I believe it was out of Vandy, I believe. That looks like it's not as a sure thing as it once was. How are we feeling about recruiting in basketball? I mean, obviously, there's some news of the Julian Phillips kid entering the portal today, so who knows? Something there. But I want to hear your thoughts. I'll start with you, Ike. How do you feel about the state of Auburn basketball right now? I mean, obviously, we got some good players still in the fold, some guys who may return. What are your thoughts about where we are in terms of recruiting and where this roster looks to be shaping out?
Listen, there's a lot of question marks. As this roster is currently composed, I think we can score. If the issue last year was scoring guards, we'll have that this year. But I don't know how we're going to get rebounds, and I don't know how we're going to defend 1 through 5 or stop people from scoring in the paint with the way this roster is currently composed. I just don't think we have enough size. Like when you think about, and I've talked about this before, when you think about the 4 position specifically, and this is all, and never mind, I don't even want to give the disclaimer. This is all me saying I don't know that Janai Broom and Jalen Williams are coming back. They could be, but we'll see. If they come back, we're in a lot better position. But I think we need both of them to come back to be in a good position. We definitely can't have both of them leave, but I think we need both of them to come back just because from a depth and rotational standpoint, you need guys who you can rely on that know your system, who can just step in and start playing ball, right? Because if everything is a new roster makeover, it may take a while for that chemistry to build up for those guys. Like you're going to have freshmen and transfer guys carry the bulk of your minutes. That's not going to be, especially with the way that Coach Pearl likes to play defense. Offensively, if you can score, you can score, right? Like get out of the way, give me the ball and get out of my way type of guys. I think we have that in a Denver Jones. I think Aiden Holloway can give me the ball, get out of the way type of guy, right? KD Johnson can be that kind of guy. But all of those are guards. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to have those as guards. My point here is that if they miss, who's getting the rebound? Defensively, that's way more about chemistry. That's way more about kind of understanding where people are going to be in their rotation, how you want to rotate, communication, and all that sort of thing. And that takes time to develop that sort of chemistry. So I do worry about whether or not we'll be able to play effective defense if you're relying on, no disrespect to him, Leor Berman coming off the bench to play your 3 or 4 spot. Because as much as effort and energy as he's going to bring you, he's not like the best defender. He's just not like, I don't know no other ways to say it. He's okay. He's going to give you everything he's got, but he's not the best defender in the world. So defensively, you're going to have some deficiencies if you don't have Jalen and Janai. Not to say that Jalen Williams is a great defensive player, but that's why I would like a guy like Julian Phillips. That's why, as much as everybody was super excited about Tyron Lawrence, I was never excited about him. I was like, who are we stopping with a 3-guard lineup like that?
Right.
Like, you have to, that's what got Missouri in trouble last year. They were too small across the vast majority of the 5s that they had. So if they weren't outscoring you, they were getting punished by teams. You got to be able to defend too. You can't outscore everybody, Golden State. You got to stop somebody at some point in time. So I like the ability to get up and down the floor and score. I do. It's exciting basketball. But you know what's not exciting? Somebody putting a sleeper hole on you and choking out your offense, and you're sitting there looking silly for 2 halves of basketball because they're defending you well enough on the perimeter that you're not getting quality looks and you can't get any boards. And you end up losing a game where you only score 40-something points. That's not fun.
Yeah.
So right now, I think that there's some issues with the way that this roster is constructed, just because so much new means that you might not get off to a good start. And we know for a fact the Auburn teams that have done well started well and finished well. Middle of the season, it's been right? But they start well and they finish well. If you start slowly, you can't have that middle of the season slump where you start, losing to teams that you shouldn't, or you get into SEC play and you're not playing well, and then you have to win games down the stretch. You have to go on this run in the tournament. You don't want to put yourself in that position. So it's going to be interesting to see how quickly these new players gel.
B. Will, your thoughts, man? And I don't think you got a chance to really speak on Alan Flanagan heading to the transfer portal. So just what your overall thoughts on kind of where Auburn basketball is currently?
Yeah, we're missing a couple of key pieces. I mean, like I said, we traded tit for tat, and we needed to upgrade scoring on the perimeter, like it was desperately bad. We had to. So the pickups we got with Aiden Holloway, you don't say no to a guy who's skilled like that from the point guard position. Denver Jones, you don't say no to a 2 who can shoot like that. You just don't. Whether Chaney Johnson will be the type of player, and I could kind of outline this in the morning drop, talking about, well, he's kind of had to play as the big guy because he was the biggest guy where he's at. Does he have skills where he can be a legitimate 3? Can he be a 3-point shooter and come in and play some rebound, play some defense on a big? I mean, we'll see. We don't know if he has those skills. He hadn't been asked to do that so much where he was at. The big question for me is, I don't like the 4 and 5 position, honestly. I think we'll be okay at 3 because Chaney Johnson, he could be a 3. He could play 3. Semo could play 3. They're both 3-size guys. Janai Broome, if he comes back, he's a 4. He's a 4 size with a 5 game. Who is defending bigs and battling for rebounds?
Tried to get one.
I know he didn't come here. Was that the guy from
Clemson.
Syracuse? Or Clemson? That's right. The center for Clemson. I don't know if any of those guys are left in the portal. Like, we're talking about 3s, but I mean, Julian Phillips solves a problem if he were able to come here. And this is a situation where you look like, well, hey, this is why you stay in it for those kids and you stay positive. And hopefully you don't, when you get rejected, you say, hey, you know what? It'll be hell seeing you next year, but good luck. And you hope that they stayed on good terms. I mean, we got a chance to re-recruit Walker Kessler, and that's how he came here. So second passes at guys that you tried to recruit the first time around is a good thing. So maybe it's looking hopeful. And I know, I think it was Stu in the comments, he was asking if there seems to be an issue with Phillips, could he play for this year? Play for us if he transferred. Now, apparently, there's an interconference rule where the deadline for basketball is you have to be at that new team before May 1st.
You have to have entered the transfer portal before May 1st.
So you have to have. Now, apparently, people say you can apply for a waiver. I don't know what the SEC is looking for to say, well, hey, you definitely, here are the reasons why it's okay if you go late. I don't know. I have been very, not very intimately knowledgeable about that with basketball. I know with football, it's got to be something like, hey, here was some mitigating circumstances that were serious. Here's why. Like, I think, was it Justin Fields? He was like, well, I experienced like this racist incident on the baseball team. And they were like, all right, well, you had to leave. So you get a clear to play wherever without having to wait your transfer year and stuff like that. With basketball, I don't know what it is. So they're saying maybe, but he put us in his top 3, apparently. That's something. So if he knew it was absolutely no way, maybe he doesn't put us in there. Maybe you put us in your top 3 and you apply for the waiver and you don't get it. So you go to your other 2 schools. I'm not sure, but we need somebody to play defense at the 5. Julian Phillips will solve a 3 problem. Sure. Tyron Lawrence would solve a 3 problem. Sure. Where's the 5? Who is the 5? Broome could play the 5 again, but we were often outmatched down low, which is, I mean, part of the reason we got blown out of Kentucky. Yeah, they didn't play great, but
lost to Vandy on the road.
We got destroyed on the boards.
Destroyed on the boards.
Arkansas
man.
destroyed on the boards. Bama destroyed on the boards, right? Like the teams that over Houston second half destroyed on the boards, couldn't hit free throws. Like you didn't remedy any of those issues.
Right. And so those things get worse. If Jalen comes back and Broome comes back, then we're kind of standing pat with what we did last year in those positions, but we've improved our scoring tremendously. So maybe we can do a little bit more with that. We weren't an incredible defensive team when we made our run to the Final Four in 2019, but what we were was an extremely hot shooting team, which we could be this year, but we still had some guys who could grind it out down low. And you've got to have a dude who is just going to rebound and defend, and that's all he wants to do. Whether it was Horace Spencer or Malik Dunbar or who's the other? Anthony McLemore. Listen, they are not there to try to get big buckets. I mean, sometimes McLemore will step out and take that 3. He hit a couple. Defend, rebound. Who is that utility guy? But that's all he can do. Simo could be that dude, but he's a little too small to do that down low. He could be like a Draymond's incredibly good rebounding and crafty down low, defending and getting boards. But yeah, he's 6'7", doing that with like guys who are 6'10", 6'11", and 7 feet. At 6'5", 6'6", Simo's not going to do that when we come up against a guy that's 6'10", 6'11" in college. He's not. He doesn't have that type of athleticism. Who is that dude? Where is he going to come from? Because if you're telling me all we got is Cardwell and Broome, I'm worried about that.
Mike G, thoughts, man?
Like I said, we talked about it on the drop. Listen, they've got some. I'm in between. In between on how this offseason is going for the basketball team. Flanagan, I was scratching my head at this one. I just really thought it'd be pro or return. I did not see him getting into the portal. But I think that Bruce Pearl said it all. I'll reiterate this point because I said on the drop this morning, in the post game after they lost to Houston, where he pretty much just said, listen, I want these guys to be proud of their accomplishments, but I have high standards. Man, like the only way to me, that's a shot. That's a shot at your current roster. Or some people on your current roster that they did not meet expectations or standards that he had. And if you're Alan Flanagan, maybe you heard him loud and clear, and you're just thinking, I got one more year left to play. Maybe I just want to go play someplace where they feel like my contribution is good enough. So, he's got to fill these spots. They've got to find shooting. Certainly, I think that's been a knock on his recruiting over the last few years. And they've got to get taller. Right. He called it one game before Kentucky. He said, if we get out rebounded in this one, we're going to lose by 40. And they went out and lost by what? It was like 36.
Yeah,
it was 40. It was 40 at one point. Yeah. It happened. It happened exactly like he said it would happen. So you just got to go out and fill the holes, man, in the roster. That's it. Right. If maybe, Allen fit the mold for what he's trying to build now, or maybe he didn't. I just hope that this is the right decision for Alan Flanagan. Either way, because he's an Auburn guy. And, will be a graduate transfer, I believe. So, he got his degree here, and, you want the best for those guys, whether they get the degree or not, it doesn't matter, but it hits a little different when they finish. They do so much time here and they become synonymous with the basketball experience. And then, if he goes on and he reaches his full potential someplace else, I think it would be kind of sad. I hate when that happens. I hate when they can't do it here. So, Bruce knows what he needs, I guess. He's a $50 million man. I hope he can figure it out. That's all I got to say about it.
For sure. Listen, let's get to the drawing. We are giving away a mug courtesy of War Eagle Oil. Drop hashtag get your weight up in the comments to enter to win. Ike is ready to take it away. How many we got, Ike?
74.
Not bad.
Let's get to it. Somebody's got to win this mug, courtesy of War Eagle Oil. We appreciate everybody who's hopping in here. The winner for tonight is Marcus Baker.
Marcus Baker, are you here, sir? Congrats if you are here, but let us know that you're here. All right? Let us know so we can acknowledge you and then give you the next instructions. Ike, I'm going to grab some comments here. Corey Weber says, why can't we have both Lawrence and Phillips? We have room.
I don't know.
Why can't Auburn not have nice things, Ike?
They definitely can. I just don't know that we have enough playing time for both of those guys to be able to come here. Listen, both of those guys are guys who have tested the pro waters. They want to have one more good year. If they're coming back to college, they're doing it to have one more good year and go pro. I don't know what the minutes distribution could be that would make both of them happy, because got to think about starting lineup. Neither one of them is going to play at the 1 or the 2, right? You could potentially have Lawrence play at the 2, but that means that Denver Jones now has to go to the bench, and you just got him on board, likely telling him that he'll have an opportunity to go for those minutes. So you're not going to keep Denver Jones happy, keep KD happy, and keep Lawrence happy with a 2-guard rotation that includes them, especially when you could have Aiden play at the 2 and being in that position. So guard rotation pretty much solidified with the 4 guys: Trey Donaldson, Denver Jones, Aiden Holloway, and KD Johnson, right? So then you got to work in minutes at the 3 and 4 position for those 2 guys. Right now you've got Simo, Lior Berman, and that's pretty much it from the 3 standpoint, unless you want to slide Chaney Johnson in as a potential 3, right? So your 3 and 4 guard or forward rotations, right, will include those 3 that I just mentioned, plus one of these guys. If you throw a second guy in there, then you're going to have to figure out, can we get, Lawrence makes us a small 3-guard lineup, right? So we're not.
He's 6'4", right?
Yeah, he's 6'4", right? So you're going to go small, or you can go big with Phillips at 3 and maybe 4. But then if Jay Will comes back, where do you get the rotational minutes for that at the 4, right? And so then you have to figure out how you're rotating guys at your 4 spot and keeping everybody happy. Again, not saying that it couldn't work, but I don't even know. I didn't keep track. Let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 8 guys right now. We haven't even gotten to the center, right? And so you got Cardwell and Broom at the center spot. That's 10 guys in your rotation. You're not going to successfully keep 10 guys happy in the rotation.
Right.
You're going to keep 8 guys happy and then another 2 guys coming in the game, right? You're going to go 10 deep, but only 8 of them are really going to be happy with their minutes when you look at how minute distributions it's going to go. So,
and those guys are going to go. They want to go somewhere where they can play and put something on film to get to the next
if they
level.
want to go to the league, right?
Yeah.
Then yes, but again, I'm not saying you got to play Lior Berman a bunch of minutes just because he came back another season, but I don't know. I just don't know that it's going to work out from a minute standpoint to keep all of those guys happy when they want to make the leap to the next level. That's going to be difficult.
Let me ask you a question, because I was listening to you guys with the morning drop, and I know we were wondering about the roster potentially being held hostage by Alan Flanagan, waiting to announce that he was transferring. If I'm Bruce, I already know that if I'm bringing in people, and let's say Tyron Lawrence commits, that pretty much all but guarantees that Alan Flanagan is likely to transfer, because that reduces his minutes, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So is that really, like, I'm curious, what's the messaging to a Lawrence? I don't think Alan Flanagan factors into what they're recruiting with these new guys, right? Like, did
Right.
that really play a factor in who Auburn can get?
Well, so I think that that's part of the reason, though, like, because you can't be honest with him and say, this is what your role is going to be on the team, because you don't know what's happening with Flanagan. That's why you miss on all three of the guys that have been mentioned with Auburn and synonymous with Auburn in regard to that 3 spot, because you can't say with any certainty because you don't know what Alan Flanagan's going to do. If you knew, then I think it would have been a done deal with one of them by now. They came here. There's no reason why. There's speculation that there was NIL related with a couple of them. There's no reason why the NIL situation wouldn't have looked better than where either of those guys were coming from. We weren't probably going to outbid Miami for Cleveland, because Miami's just throwing ridiculous money around all over the place. But Tyron Lawrence probably would have been a lock if you knew for sure, hey, you're going to get 20 minutes at this spot for sure. And on a good night, we might play you 27 minutes, right? Because you could look at what Alan Flanagan's minutes were, and you can look at the fact that we don't have Chance Westry coming back to be in that 3 guard spot. We don't have, you've got Simo in there, but you play him in like, even if you split the minutes half and half with him and Simo, that's 20 minutes a game. That's a good amount of minutes for you to go out there and play, right? But you have to be able to give guys some assurances around that sort of thing, especially, again, because he didn't have to hit the transfer portal. He isn't a guy that was going to get overlooked on his rotation. He could have stayed where he was and gotten minutes and been fine. So when I don't necessarily need to come here, then I got options. And you're going to tell me, yeah, well, we might be able to get you in 10, 12 minutes. Like, what? No, I'm not doing that.
All right. We'll go grab another question here. Corey Weber again says, I think Pearl has known AI Al wasn't coming back since last season ended. He has a plan. We have to trust it.
I don't know that I know that he knows that. I hope that he knew that already. I mean, I would assume the conversation was around, and the reason why I'm not sure about that, right, is because there's conflicting reports as to whether or not Al Flanagan was working out with the team during this offseason. The whole situation of them putting the roster up on the website, and then he wasn't there at first, and then later they put him on there. If he was, Flanagan hasn't transferred anywhere before now, so he didn't have to wait to graduate to hit the transfer portal. He could have put his name in the portal a long time ago, right? So, like, I don't know that he knew for sure. He might have thought it. He might have said to himself, I need to get myself an insurance policy, which is why he was going so hard after a Matthew Cleveland and Tyron Lawrence, right? But I don't know that he knew that for certain. He just knew that he needed to be able to shore up that rotation a little bit more. And I feel like if they knew that definitively, one of those guys would be on Auburn's roster right now, because they're like, they could have told them, hey, I know what it looks like right now, but Allen's not going to be here with this team next year. You're going to be our guy at the 3. And I think that would have been enough to say, all right, cool, I'm signing with him.
But that would have made you a little concerned if it was Lawrence, though, right? Just because he's undersized.
It would have concerned me, because I, again, would have had the worries about our ability to actually rebound consistently. Because, again, Tyron Lawrence would be in the starting lineup, right? So your starting lineup would be like 6'1", 6'1", 6'3" at your front 3, and then your back end would be 6'8" if it's Jay Will, then 6'10" Broom. That's pretty good. But again, my issue is Jalen Williams, not a great rim protector, not a great defender, not a great rebounder. So how are you defending the paint if Janai is really your only guy in your starting 5 that patrols the paint with any sort of ability, right? Like he's a double guy, right? But like, I just don't know. Usually your starting lineup is also going to be your closing lineup. And so when you get late in game and you need to get stops, where are you going to get stops and rebounds late in the game? You can score again. That is not a bad strategy if you're saying we're just gonna go tempo. We're gonna blow the doors off of every team scoring wise. But those games where you hit a scoring drought, How do you win those? You're not shooting well tonight. How do you win that game?
Yeah.
Playing a great defensive team like Tennessee was last year. How do you win with that lineup if Tennessee's playing good, tough defense on you that night? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't get paid the money to answer that question. I just don't see it in that lineup being the thing.
Mitzi Council says you don't think Allen just wants to go play for his dad, Wes. I mean, he's had visits elsewhere, right? And he's taken them, right? So that remains to be seen if that's where he ultimately ends up at Ole Miss. I'm pretty sure Ole Miss is obviously one of his choices, but I think he's probably going to look around and see what his options are. So,
yeah. We mentioned it this morning that maybe he is in that. I do know that.
I don't think he plays a lot if he goes back to Arkansas.
So that was the question that Mike asked me this morning is where is Allen Flanigan going to go where he can be a starter day one? And I do not know the answer to that question. I don't know. I haven't analyzed people's,
I don't know what Ole Miss has. Maybe
I think they got a guy at 3 that came in during the offseason. And I don't know if Matthew Morrell, I think, had declared for the draft. I don't know whether or not that was one of those things where he's maintaining his I have no idea. So I think that there's a lot that has to be ironed out in Allen Flanigan's mind about where he's going to go to get the kind of minutes and exposure that he truly wants to go to the next level.
All right, let's go ahead and draw again because Marcus Baker is not here.
Did not see him. So let's get back to this. And
Marcus.
Sorry about it, bro. Do it again. Somebody's got to win. We're not leaving here till we give this to somebody who's present. This time it is Rude Boy TRV. That's the new name. Hadn't seen that name.
That is a new name. Yeah, they're here. That's
right,
how
so
new
I don't
it is.
even,
I'm like, are you so new? Are you here?
Right. So
anyway, let's get to some more questions while we wait to see if we got to draw a third time or if Rude Boy TRV is here. AU alum asks, do you think Allen would be gone if his dad was still here?
I don't know. I mean, listen, if you believe the rumors about the tension between him and his dad, I don't know. Oh, there he is. He's here. Rude Boy TRV. Boom.
Boom. Okay. Congratulations, sir. Here's what we need you to do. Email us, business@thewar report. We need your name, physical address, and that mug will be coming your way. Thanks again, man, and appreciate you watching us.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not he would still be here if his dad were here. Because I don't know all the reasons why he decided to transfer. All right. So if I had a conversation with Allen Flanigan about what his decision was surrounding, and if he just needed a fresh start, that fresh start would have been whether his dad was here or not. Right. If he didn't like, something that was going on, that would have been here whether his dad was here or not. I don't know that it's a 1-to-1 correlation, and maybe it's a part of it, but it's hard to know.
Brad Browning asks, y'all probably addressed it already, but was Wes leaving kind of a divorce between Bruce Pearl and him because Bruce Pearl wanted to go in another direction? No, this is highly speculation, so I don't know what you know about this, if at all, Ike.
I don't know anything definitive. It feels like it because it's not as if he went somewhere to take a head coaching job, right? He still went and did an assistant coaching job. It was a familiar head coach that he went to coach under again. And it's, it would have felt different if Ole Miss was his alma mater, right? And it's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go back to my alma mater and coach again with a coach who I was familiar with. It would have felt differently if he was going to take a head coaching job. With it being another assistant coaching job in the same conference, it feels like a bit of a divorce, and it feels like, some of the speculation of things that were going on behind the scenes and discontent are true. And if that's the case, and there was some unrest in the locker room, then it's best that they part ways, right? But do I know anything definitive around that? No.
Yeah. Last question here from Corey Dub says, Ike, do we get back to going fast again next season?
If we're going to be small, we're going to have to be fast. There's no way you can slow it down. And so this actually brings up another good point of how I don't like the way this roster is constructed. Because if Janai Broome comes back, He's not going to want to be up and down the floor like that. He's going to want you to slow it down and throw it in the post to him. One of the reasons why we went in the slower direction. Now, he does give you the versatility of saying, all right, cool, we can't run with a particular team. We do have an option to throw it in the post. But how many games per season is that opportunity going to be afforded to him, and to keep him happy enough to say, I want to stay on this team and this is the best place for my pro prospects? Or do I just take my chances and go ahead and go pro now? If we get more into an up-tempo team, I don't know how Janai Broome stays happy in that scenario, right? Like, and listen, you can't fast break on everybody, right? So some people,
Right.
but if the idea is you want to push the tempo, you have to have guys who run the floor, particularly, and not to say that Janai Broome doesn't run well. I don't know how happy he is in a scenario where it's going to be tempo. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Just because I haven't seen him do it doesn't mean that he can't do it or that he won't do it. I just don't see evidence of a guy whose the best way that he gets involved in the offense is for you to throw it to the post, being happy with an up and down the floor type of furious tempo. We'll see.
Okay. Good show, man. Good conversation. Good talk. Ike, tell the people what you got cooked up and how can they access it.
You can click that join button, or somebody can gift you a membership, but you need to be on board with one of these membership options in order to get to this film that we're breaking down. So much film on new players that have come in, and you guys definitely want to be locked in to see kind of what they've done in the past, and maybe it will foretell something for the future for them. So we got to look at the film to do that. I try not to make any snap judgments based on anything other than what the film tells us. So let's watch it together and see what it says. If you are a member, you want to gift that membership, you could do that right now. Somebody will enjoy the first month of membership on you. If you didn't get a chance to win something today, you can go to the website, thewarreport.com, and purchase a little sum for you and a loved one. And if you want to listen to content back from the morning drop or any of our audio only content, you got to do that at the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. And we appreciate all of your podcast listens. That helps us out a ton.
Congrats again to our winner of our drawing. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Before you get out of here, share this content, Facebook, Twitter, use the hashtag, even at us, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. I mentioned social media, IG, Twitter, Facebook. At The War Report is where you can find us. We're TW Report on TikTok. Tipper now, guys, where you can catch us Friday morning for a Friday morning drop. We'll be there. Talk about Auburn sports, whatever news breaks or whatever interesting convo we can stir up into that point. For now, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. As always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.